Hi there, this is Mr. Evans. This video looks at using operations data to assess performance, we've moved on from financial data. We've covered how marketing data can be used to assess performance. This is going to look at the operations data you need to be able to understand to assess an organisation's performance, which is part of the SWOT analysis. We're trying to work out what the strengths and weaknesses, the internal strengths and weaknesses of this organisation are. If we've looked at finance and we've looked at marketing, now we need to turn our attention to the production, the operations, and see what's going on there. So, these are the measures that were identified that you guys need to know at AS. So I'm just quickly going to run through these. Labour productivity, really important, how much each worker is producing. The more each worker is producing, the more the better it will be for your unit costs, labour costs per unit, and of course, if we can, make each worker produce more output and we keep their wages the same, then the unit costs fall, and we can either make a higher profit margin, or we can cut our price if we're in a competitive market. So labour productivity, increasing labour productivity would certainly be something I'd want to consider on my in my SWOT analysis and what's going on with labour productivity. The organisation's capacity is an issue that we might want to consider. Okay, what's our total amount of output that we can be producing in a particular time? If we're constantly having to outsource to other companies, that's an indication that our capacity is not large enough. So potential supply isn't able to meet demand. If we're constantly operating on 50 to 60% capacity, that could be a weakness. We might be able to operate more efficiently at a higher capacity utilisation if we actually sell off some of those unused assets. So looking at total capacity and whether the supply is meeting demand is important, as is looking at capacity utilisation. Now you should remember from AS how to calculate it, and we'd usually consider a capacity utilisation of around 80 to 90% to be optimal. That means we're using most of our resources most of the time, but there is some downtime, so our workers aren't getting completely stressed out, our machines aren't completely overrun, we've got some time to conduct maintenance, and we can deal with non-standard orders. So looking at capacity utilisation, and these other methods, we're going to want to consider these in our SWOT analysis, and these are the calculations that you need to know to do that. These two measures haven't really got calculations, but again, I would certainly want to be considering these two operations measures as part of my SWOT analysis. Okay. Quality, well, how do we measure that? Returns, complaints, number of defects, amount of material that we're scrapping. Lots of different ways of measuring quality, and it's very dependent on how you define it. However, quality is really important because it impacts on sales, brand image, your costs. The worse the quality, the higher your costs tend to be because you're wasting a lot of stuff. Staff motivation can suffer if quality is consistently poor and customers are always complaining their work is being scrapped because it's not good enough. Not a good situation to be in. So I would certainly want to consider whether we're selling really high quality products or whether our quality needs to improve and it's a weakness. In terms of added value, that can be calculated by subtracting the cost of inputs from the selling price, and if we're able to add a lot of value to our product because we've got really strong brand image, that would be another thing that I'd want to consider in my SWOT analysis. Okay, so range there of operations data that we can use to assess our financial performance, find out where we are, and then we can start building our strategic plan to improve and get better.